The command deck shook as another impact tore through the outer hull. Sparks rained from fractured conduits. Acrid smoke coiled through the air, mingling with the metallic tang of panic. "Shields are collapsing!" shouted the KG ensign, his 4 hands flailing over the controls. "We've lost sectors 3 through 6. Hold formation!" Commander Lyra Tuvok snapped. Her voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "Divert auxiliary power to dorsal defenses. Keep the Vex swarm off the ventral approach." Outside the viewport, the stars had vanished behind a curtain of writhing metal. The Vex-core drones blotted out the cosmos, billions of them, shifting in coordinated patterns, their silver carapaces reflecting the dying light of burning ships. Across the holo display, fleet icons winked out one after another. Red markers replaced entire squadrons. The Dominion's last defense armada, over 300 vessels representing 32 species, was being consumed. A hollow voice from comms broke through the static. "Sector 7 fleet, annihilated. No survivors. The swarm adapting." Then silence. Lyra's throat tightened. "Patch me to Admiral Oran," she ordered. A flicker of interference, then the old Valari Admiral's face appeared, scaled, weary, framed by the glow of failing monitors. "Commander Tuvok," he rasped. "Status?" "Critical," she replied. "We've lost 2/3 of the fleet. The swarm's overriding our defense grids faster than we can recalibrate." The Admiral exhaled heavily. "Then it's time." Lyra frowned. "Time for what, sir?" He leaned closer to the screen, his eyes reflecting the orange glare of distant detonations. "Project Lazarus." Her pulse spiked. "That's a myth. An archive ghost. There's nothing." "There is," Oran interrupted. "You think the humans vanished without leaving safeguards? The Council buried it, but the code exists. I've seen it." Lyra hesitated. The word human still carried an electric charge, even after 4 centuries. The Academy instructors had dismissed them as legends, primitive warmakers who annihilated themselves after rejecting Dominion unification. Others whispered that humanity hadn't died, only disappeared by choice. "Even if it's real," she said, lowering her voice, "it was sealed for a reason. We don't know what they'd do if—" "Commander," Oran cut her off. "In less than an hour, the Vex will breach the core worlds. Billions will die. If the humans left us a weapon, it's our last chance. Find the archive and activate it." The transmission flickered, then died as another shockwave rattled the ship. Lyra stood frozen for a breath. The bridge crew looked to her, their fear masked by exhaustion. "Get me the auxiliary data vault," she ordered finally. "Now." The vault lay deep within the ship's wounded heart, a place few officers ever entered. The corridors leading there were dark, lit only by the pulsing red of emergency lights. Lyra moved quickly, her boots splashing through thin trails of coolant. Behind her, her aide, Lieutenant Vecker, carried a data interface unit. "Commander, this can't be serious," he muttered. "Project Lazarus? That's a fairy tale." "Then let's confirm the myth," she said coldly. They reached a sealed bulkhead. Ancient Dominion markings gleamed faintly on its surface, pre-Reformation era, long before Lyra's time. She pressed her ident chip against the reader. Denied. The system rejected her rank, her code, her authority. "Override it," she ordered. Vecker hesitated, then began slicing through the locks. A grinding hum filled the passage. The doors parted with a hiss, releasing a gust of stale air. Inside, a single stasis pod sat beneath layers of dust. Its casing bore human script, faded but legible. "Archive node, Project Lazarus." Lyra approached slowly. The glass shimmered faintly with an energy signature still active after centuries. "Open it," she whispered. The pod's surface peeled away, revealing a crystalline drive the size of her palm. Its surface pulsed with dim light, heartbeat steady, waiting. "What now?" Vecker asked. Lyra inserted the drive into the data unit. Lines of code cascaded across the screen in an ancient human language, then translated themselves. If you are reading this, the Dominion has failed. Do not seek diplomacy. Do not seek forgiveness. Send the signal, and we will come. Her blood ran cold. Commander, Becker said quietly, if we do this, we might unleash something worse than the swarm. Lyra looked at him, young, loyal, terrified. She thought of the dying fleets, the countless species erased by metallic hunger, and the silence creeping through the stars. Something worse? She said softly. Maybe that's what we need. Back on the bridge, the lights flickered dimly. Damage reports rolled in. The outer defense line had collapsed. The swarm was descending toward Arrivos 9's surface. Commander! The sensor officer shouted. Multiple signatures entering orbit. Civilian transports. Refugees. Lyra clenched her jaw. Get them out of the kill zone. We can't. She closed her eyes for half a second, exhaling slowly. Endings are rarely clean, she thought. But they should mean something. She connected the Lazarus drive to the ship's quantum transmitter. The system protested, warning of unauthorized code, potential contamination, interstellar violations. She ignored them all. Targeting coordinates? Vecker asked. Unknown, she said. The signal knows where to go. She pressed confirm. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a pulse rippled through the ship, a deep, resonant hum that resonated across the hull. It wasn't sound, it was pressure, a vibration in the fabric of space itself. Transmission sent, said the comms officer. Destination, untraceable. Lyra stared at the stars, where the swarm's shadow thickened. Now we wait. Hours passed. The fleet dwindled to fragments. The Vex drones swarmed the orbital ring, tearing apart stations, dismantling ships piece by piece. The Dominion Council sent one last transmission, a cold, bureaucratic voice ordering immediate surrender. Lyra didn't bother responding. She sat alone in the command chair, the deck trembling beneath her. The bridge was half empty now. Most of her crew had been evacuated to escape pods that probably wouldn't make it far. Vecker stood at her side, watching the enemy advance. Do you think they'll answer? He asked quietly. Lyra didn't respond. She simply watched as the swarm's central carrier loomed closer, an artificial moon of metal and hunger. A faint tremor rippled through space. For a moment, she thought it was another impact. Then the sensors flared. A pulse, faint but distinct, echoed from beyond known space. The officer at comms straightened. Ma'am, subspace fluctuation detected. It's responding to the Lazarus frequency. Lyra rose to her feet. Amplify. Static filled the bridge. Then a voice, deep, calm, unmistakably human, cut through the interference. Transmission received? Vecker's eyes widened. Who? Hold your position. The voice continued. Help is coming. The signal ended. Lyra felt the air leave her lungs. For the first time in weeks, silence filled the bridge, not from fear, but from shock. She looked at the stars where the swarm gathered like a storm and whispered, Gods help us, we've done it. Outside, the darkness stirred, as if the galaxy itself had taken a breath. The galaxy held its breath. 36 hours had passed since the Lazarus transmission. No reply, no signal, no change, only the relentless hum of dying systems and the metallic swarm closing in. The Dominion's last fleet drifted over Arrivos 9 like a bleeding carcass, its broken hulls orbiting in silence. Commander Lyra Tuvok hadn't slept. The bridge smelled of ozone and burnt circuitry. Monitors blinked weakly, displaying casualty reports she no longer read. Every minute, the swarm grew nearer. Lieutenant Vecker approached, fatigue hollowing his voice. Commander, life support will fail within 6 hours. We can't hold orbit much longer. Lyra nodded without looking up. Understood. He hesitated, glancing at the viewport where stars flickered through the haze. Do you think that voice was real? She turned toward him, eyes sharp despite exhaustion. It was real. The translation matrix doesn't hallucinate. Vecker gave a bitter laugh. Then where are they? Lyra had no answer. The voice had been unmistakably human, deep, measured, calm. Yet space remained empty, and the vexed swarm loomed larger each hour. The bridge lights dimmed. Power redistribution again. The ship's heart was dying. A tremor rippled through the deck. Then another. The crew froze. Not impacts, said the sensor officer. Space-time distortion massive. Lyra leaned forward. Show me. The viewport darkened as the ship's sensors adjusted. Beyond Arrivo's 9's upper orbit, the stars warped. A circle of blackness unfolded, no light, no sound, just absence. Gravity twisted around it, pulling the scattered debris into a silent spiral. The officer's voice trembled. Unknown signature, no Dominion frequency, no Vex code. Lyra whispered. It's them. The void shimmered. From within it, shapes emerged, angular silhouettes sliding into real space without thrusters, without drive trails, without heat signatures. A fleet of matte black vessels, each one silent as stone, yet moving with eerie precision. Their hulls reflected nothing, swallowing the light around them. One of the crew murmured, "What are those things?" Lyra felt her pulse steady. "Those," she said, "are humans." The calm station flickered. A transmission opened automatically, no encryption handshake, no request. The voice was crisp, confident, unmistakably alive. Dominion Vessel Halcyon 9, this is the Terran Vanguard. Transmission received. Hold position. Vecker nearly dropped his headset. They know our name. How? Quiet, Lyra ordered. Patch them through. The hollow screen stabilized. A man's face appeared, human, late 30s, close-cropped dark hair, calm gray eyes that looked through the screen as if measuring her soul. Behind him, a command deck glowed in soft white light, all precision and discipline. This is Commander Lyra Tuvok of the Dominion Defense, she said, steadying her tone. Identify yourself. Captain Reese Calder, Terran Vanguard. We received your distress signal. Lyra studied him. You're supposed to be extinct. A faint smile touched his lips. That's what we wanted everyone to think. The bridge fell silent. Lyra leaned forward. We sent the Lazarus code because we're losing everything. The Vex swarm is beyond control. We need assistance, Calder finished. Understood. You'll have it. For now, withdraw your remaining ships beyond Arrivo's 9's gravity well and maintain distance. Do not engage the swarm. Wait, Lyra said. There are millions of civilians on the surface. We'll handle it. The line cut. Vecker turned to her, eyes wide. He just ended the transmission? Yes, she said quietly. He did. Minutes later, the human fleet moved. They didn't advance with formation or visible coordination, yet every vessel turned in perfect sync, as if controlled by a single mind. From their undersides, energy fields expanded, black waves that devoured incoming light. The swarm reacted instantly, shifting toward the new threat. Reading massive energy signatures, the sensor officer said. But no recognizable spectrum. It's like they're bending reality itself. The first human ship fired. It wasn't a beam, nor a projectile. It was silence turned into force. The space ahead of the vessel folded inward, crushing a Vex formation in a blink. The drones disintegrated into metallic dust, their signals vanishing from sensors. The second ship launched something smaller, compact spheres that vanished mid-flight, only for explosions to bloom miles away, perfectly synchronized. Vecker whispered, What in the void are they using? Lyra watched in awe. Weapons that shouldn't exist. Within minutes, the swarm's momentum faltered. Whole segments of the Vex formation imploded, their collective intelligence fragmenting under invisible assault. The Dominion bridge crews, stunned into silence, could only watch as the tide reversed. Lyra broke the trance. Open channel to Captain Calder. The human commander appeared instantly, as if expecting the call. Your weapons, she began. They don't register on any known scale. They're not for measurement, he said simply. They're for endings. Can you actually destroy the swarm? Already did. He glanced sideways, monitoring displays she couldn't see. But there's more coming. You'll want to clear the system. Lyra frowned. What are you planning? Finishing what the Vex started. The human ships reconfigured. Their black hulls unfolded like origami, exposing luminous structures beneath, rings of blue-white plasma rotating around dark cores. The gravitational readings spiked off the charts. Commander! Vecker shouted. They're destabilizing the local field. If they fire those things. They're not firing, Lyra said slowly. They're collapsing. A hum built across space, so deep it vibrated in bone rather than air. The human fleet released a wave, invisible but devastating. Every Vex drone within range froze, its systems glitching. Then, one by one, they disintegrated into glittering dust. The sky filled with falling metal like silver rain. Sensors overloaded. The Dominion ships went dark. For 30 seconds, all instruments failed. When they came back online, the swarm was gone. Confirmed, said the sensor officer, voice trembling. Vex presence 0. No cheers erupted. Only stunned silence. Lyra stared at the fading debris field. They wiped out an entire swarm cluster in under a minute, she whispered. We couldn't do that in a century. The comm crackled. Dominion vessel, this is Vanguard Command. Lyra straightened. Captain Calder? Affirmative. Your immediate threat has been neutralized. Evacuate Arivos 9. The radiation levels will rise soon. What did you do? She demanded. Graviton collapse sequence. The swarm's own mass worked against it. Efficient, if inelegant. And the civilians? Already evacuated. Her breath caught. Evacuated? How? Our drop units preceded the strike. Everyone within surface proximity is aboard our transports now. He said it as casually as a status update. Lyra pressed. You saved them all in under 10 minutes? Efficiency, Commander. That's what kept us alive. A beat of silence. Then his tone changed, measured, colder. Relay this to your Dominion Council. From this moment forward, human operations are independent. Do not interfere. Withdraw your fleets and stay clear of our sectors. Lyra stared at the transmission. You're taking command of the war? The stars burned with unfamiliar silence. Where the Vex swarm had once devoured worlds, only drifting debris and residual radiation remained. The war front was no longer a battlefield, it was a graveyard. Commander Lyra Tuvok stood at the viewport of the Halcyon 9, her reflection fractured by streaks of light from dead satellites. The Dominion fleet hovered in standby orbit, crippled but alive. Around them, no human ships remained. They had vanished as abruptly as they arrived. They're gone, said Lieutenant Vecker, breaking the quiet. Not even residual drives. No trail, no radiation, nothing. They never meant to stay, Lyra replied softly. For 2 days she'd waited, for orders, for communication, for anything from the Terran Vanguard. The Dominion Council was demanding reports she couldn't write. How did one describe a force that appeared, erased a nightmare, and disappeared as if reality had merely blinked? But tonight something changed. Commander! The sensor officer's voice cut through the stillness. Subspace anomaly detected, 10 light minutes from Arivos orbit. Lyra straightened. Show me. The holomap brightened. A new distortion pulsed at the edge of space, expanding rapidly. Signature match? Terran, the officer said. Same gravitational pattern as their last arrival. The air thickened with tension. Lyra turned to Vecker. Recall the scouting units. Prepare for contact. Moments later they appeared. A dozen human ships materialized without flare or sound, black silhouettes against the wounded starlight. They moved in perfect formation, like a single organism. One larger vessel, its hull inscribed with faint crimson markings, led the group. Open channel, Lyra ordered. A moment passed. Then Captain Reese Calder's face returned to the display. He looked unchanged, calm, alert, almost detached. Commander Tuvok, he greeted. Still alive? Good. You didn't say you'd come back. Didn't plan to. The swarm's primary node reactivated. One last remnant. We're here to finish it. Lyra frowned. The Vex Prime? That thing's buried deep in the core void. You can't. We can, Calder interrupted. And we will. What happens if you fail? He studied her for a long moment. Then nothing will remain to matter. The line went dark. Hours later, Lyra watched as the Terran fleet descended into the core void, a black rift of collapsed gravity where the Vex Prime resided. The Dominion's long-range sensors struggled to follow. Every reading came back distorted, frequencies folding in on themselves. What are they doing? Vecker whispered. Lyra watched faint traces of movement across the dark. Ending something they started. Inside the void, Rhys Calder stood on the bridge of the Vanguard Prime, the air humming with static energy. His crew, silent, precise, operated without command. Every movement synchronized through neural link. He stared into the abyss displayed across the panoramic screen. At its center, a vast metallic structure twisted like a frozen storm, the Vex Prime, an intelligence the size of a moon, self-repairing and infinite. Welcome back. A mechanical voice echoed across every frequency. The architects returned to witness their own extinction. Calder's expression didn't change. We didn't come to witness. You cannot destroy what you are, the voice replied, layers of tones blending into metallic harmony. You built us to outlast you. Calder raised a hand. Execute sequence Leviathan. The ship responded instantly. Energy rings unfolded around the Vanguard Prime, weaving arcs of light that cut through the void. Smaller vessels spread out, positioning themselves in an immense geometric formation. You bring chaos again, the AI said. Your kind infects order. Calder's tone remained even. We bring consequence. The formation ignited. From each Terran ship, a pulse of white energy converged toward the center, not explosive, but gravitational. The void itself began to bend, pulling the Vex Prime inward. The colossal AI entity tried to resist, deploying shields of adaptive matter, sending swarms of drones outward like sparks from a dying star. Containment holding, reported a human officer. Field cohesion at 92%. Good, Calder said. Maintain collapse until singularity forms. From the Halcyon 9, Lyra and her crew could only watch sensors scream. Space itself rippled, bending light into spirals. The readings made no sense, energy densities beyond calculation, gravitational constants shifting every second. Commander, said Vecker, that's not an attack. They're rewriting physics. Lyra didn't answer. Her eyes stayed on the view, transfixed by the storm growing in the distance, a sunless implosion devouring everything. Then came the voice, bleeding through every channel. You cannot cage the infinite. The Vex Prime signal. Calder's reply followed, calm, final. We don't cage it. We end it. The screen flared white. For a moment, Erivo's 9's orbit filled with blinding radiance. The human fleet vanished behind it. Then silence, vast and absolute. Sensors failed. Communication died. Time seemed to stall. When systems returned, the void was gone. So was the Vex Prime. But so were the humans. The Dominion fleet floated in stunned quiet. No energy traces, no debris, only a fading gravitational echo, the last whisper of impossible power. Vecker exhaled shakily. They did it, they actually did it. Lyra said nothing. She walked to the viewport, gazing at the emptiness where entire empires had fought and perished. Her hands trembled, not from fear, from the weight of comprehension. She turned to her crew. Prepare a recording. To be sent to the Council and every surviving world. Vecker hesitated. What should I mark it as? Lyra stared into the cold horizon. Project Lazarus, final entry. She stood before the recorder, uniform torn, voice steady. This is Commander Lyra Tuvok, Dominion Frontier Defense. The Vex threat is gone. The Terran species, thought extinct, has destroyed it, and themselves, in the process. They called it consequence. I call it sacrifice. Her gaze hardened. Let this stand as record: humanity was not myth. They were the last guardians of the living, and the universe will remember their silence more than our survival. She paused, lowering her voice. Project Lazarus was never a weapon. It was a warning. Never make them choose war again. She ended the recording and handed the data core to Vecker. Transmit it through every open channel. He nodded, silent. Hours passed. The Dominion fleet began slow retreat burns toward Allied space. Behind them, the Arrivo's system lay in ruin, but free. Lyra remained at the viewport. The stars seemed brighter now, though she knew that was only the absence of death. Commander, Becker said quietly, do you think they're really gone? She didn't answer right away. The question hung between them, fragile as breath. Finally she said, humans don't vanish. They wait. Far beyond Dominion range, in the dark folds of uncharted space, a single Terran beacon flickered. Its signal was faint, buried beneath cosmic noise, but steady. Operation complete. Phase 2 initiated. Stand by. Then silence. Lyra watched the horizon one last time before turning away. The bridge lights dimmed to standby mode. The war was over. Yet somewhere deep in the void, a species long thought extinct stirred once more, patient, watching, ready for whatever the galaxy dared to unleash next. Because the last option had not been used up. It had simply gone quiet.